Welcome to Breaking Ties, a new you after divorce. This is your go-to source for practical advice and support for when the divorce process has finished. Join us each weekday for a quick chat where we'll cover a variety of topics related to post-divorce. Together, we'll explore the emotional, financial, and legal aspects of life after divorce and help you find the best path forward for you and your family. Here's your host and Certified Divorce Financial Analyst Professional, Mike Fulkerson.
Hello and welcome back to day 3 of 5 of the Breaking Ties interview series. I'm your host, Mike Fulkerson, financial advisor and certified divorce financial analyst professional. And we're going to ask our guest today, Chris Lunardini, questions on the divorce process from an attorney's point of view. And this, has really been a good week. And if you haven't listened to the first 2 weeks of the episodes, please go back and listen to them. Right now, Chris is a divorce attorney with SPYRATOSDAVIS. I think I've gotten that wrong every day, in Lisle, Illinois. So we're going to get some more really good information today from Chris. So welcome back again, Chris. We're glad to have you.
Thank you for having me back. Good to see you again, Mike.
Absolutely. We love it. The information you get, it's straight to the point. It's exactly what you want to hear and learn and stuff. So it's really good. So today we're not slowing down. We got our foot on the pedal here and we are looking at a lot of kind of dividing asset questions today, property questions. So we're going to start with, how does property kind of get divided in divorce? When I think of property, I'm thinking of who gets to keep the house.
That is great. No, those are very good questions, and those come up all the time. And oftentimes you'll get the question, not only who's keeping the house, but it'll be, well, my name's the only one on the house, so it's mine, right? And I think what people don't understand is that Illinois is a state where any property that you come into possession of, whether you bought it, whether it was given to you, whether you sold it, however you received it, if it came into your possession during the marriage, it's considered marital property by the court. As a matter of fact, it's not just considered, it's assumed to be marital property. So if you're going to say it's not, and the significance there is property that's not marital property does not get divided up as part of the divorce. So if you've got property that you're going to say is not marital property, you have to show and prove to the court that it's not marital property. And I'm not going to go through all the different arrangements and all the different scenarios that can create non-marital property. But what you need to know, for the most part, if you came into it during the marriage, including income, including retirement accounts, including pensions, that's a big one I have. I often get the question of, well, it's my pension. I've been working there. Yes, but you've been working there for the majority of your life while you've been married. Therefore, your spouse is entitled to a portion of that pension. All of those things, they're all part of the marital estate. The court has every power and ability to divide it up as part of the divorce. So people have to be aware of that. And that's part of the initial conversation, to get them comfortable with that idea. So with that, the court is usually looking to divide up the property in what we call an equitable fashion. And Mike, do you know what an equitable fashion is?
Yeah, I do know what an equitable fashion is. It's fair, but not equal.
Right. It does not mean it's necessarily equal, although oftentimes it is.
Right.
It's not always equal, but it's what the court considers fair. So there's some leeway there based on circumstances, and no two circumstances are alike. But oftentimes what we're doing in divorce is we're basically taking a whole full sort of roll call and assessment of what are all the properties that are considered marital, and all the debt. Any debt you came into as part of the marriage too is all considered marital debt. So we try to take a determination of what's all the property, what's all the debt. We try to put it together into kind of a spreadsheet, and then we just try to divide it up as in a fair and usually a 50-50. At least we start from a 50-50 position. And then we try to figure out, are there circumstances that mean a little more should go to one party or to the other? So in general, that's how we look to divide it up. But you're right, the house is one of the biggest ones.
Yeah, there's always a few hot buttons, with it. Like you said, the other one is often retirement accounts, but it's my money that I saved. Well, okay, yes, but at the same time, there's other circumstances where if you have a non-working spouse, it's like they didn't have the opportunity to save. So fair is fair type of situation.
Exactly. And that's exactly how the court approaches it. They look at it from the perspective of, well, one spouse stayed at home and watched the kids or took care of the house or whatever they may have done, took care of a sick relative for the family or something like that. And that's the reason why they maybe weren't able to work as much and put as much in the retirement account. So therefore, any retirement accounts, any pension accounts, they are considered to be both parties to be divided up between the two of them. The house is, and usually the house and retirement are the biggest issues because that is usually the biggest assets most people have. The house it can be easy or it can be difficult. If you're dividing up the house, the easiest way to divide up the house is say, okay, nobody wants to keep it anymore. The kids have moved out. They're out to college. It's a big place. We don't need it anymore. We'll sell it. Whatever the house sells for, whatever it makes, then we divide that up. And that's the easiest way because the market bears what it does. The house is worth what it is, and you get your money out of it. But if one party does want to stay there, you've got a couple different options. You can either, the one party that's going to stay there keeps their half of the value of the house. So let's say there's $200,000 in the house. 1,000 belongs to one spouse, 100,000 belongs to another spouse. You can give the spouse who's not keeping the house something else from the marital assets to make up for what they lost from the value of the house. Another way to settle it might be you say, okay, I'll buy you out. I'll pay you either in a lump sum or maybe I'll pay you in monthly installments for the next 5 years to make up for the value of the house that I'm going to be keeping and that you're not. So again, let's take that $200,000 assessment, right? So if I'm keeping the house and you're the one moving out, maybe I pay you $50,000 a year for the next 2 years to make up for your $100,000 that you're missing out of from the house. So that's another way to do it. And there's other more creative ways too, depending on what other assets are out there in the marital estate. But those are the two most common. Either sell the house or the person keeping the house buys the other party out.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And as you've been saying all along here, a lot of this is negotiated. It's just, what the two parties can come to an agreement on, as far, in the house and any retirement, all of it comes into play. It's all part of who they were as a married couple.
And I have people ask all the time too, well, what about the retirement accounts? How does that get handled? Well, oftentimes the accounts will be split. They'll be split into two accounts. So if Mike, if you're the party who has all the retirement accounts, and you're getting divorced, your retirement account will be, let's say you have it with Fidelity. Your Fidelity account will be split into two, one for you, one for your spouse. And depending on the percentage, if it's a 50-50 split, that's how they'll split it up. But the account will stay there. It stays with the plan, and the spouse who is getting her half of the account will have all the same benefits and have to manage the account in the same fashion that you would under Fidelity's management. And they can do whatever they want with it too, invest it how they will. But it is a retirement account. It's subject to all the same restrictions too. So if you decide, hey, I want to pull that money out and use it, you can do that, but you're paying all the same taxes and penalties and fees on it because it is a retirement account. It's not just an account of money that you're going to be able to access after your retirement. And the same with pensions. It works the same way. So you divide them up. Everybody gets their portion. You'll have something available for you, and the non-working spouse or the spouse who may not have worked as much will now have retirement accounts available to them to use and do with what they want, to set up and put it in other people's names as beneficiaries and so on should something happen to them, in the same fashion that you have for your account as the owner of the account. But it's now split up into two. So you still will get access to retirement benefits. So that way when you go into retirement as well, you can now get retirement benefits too from the marriage, if you will.
All right. Yeah. Whew. That was great insight right there.
A whole lot of information.
Absolutely. But really solid information. And so, I think it's just one of those things where you're looking at the information from a standpoint of, okay, not everything pertains perhaps, but a good chunk of it does. And I just need an idea of how things are going to flow from that standpoint. Right. Now, this actually is going to wrap up day 3 of 5 of our interview series. If you haven't caught the first 2 days of our interview here with Chris, I advise you to go back and listen to those. They had different questions and they were really good days as well. So tomorrow, I want you to join us again. We're going to continue our discussion with Chris as we talk more on the traditional divorce side of things. And Chris and I would like to thank you for joining us today on this episode of Breaking Ties, the interview series. His contact information will be in the description of the podcast, so you can reach out with your other questions you might have. And remember, divorce is not the end of your story. It is the start of your next great chapter. And with that, we will see you all tomorrow. Have a fantastic day.
See you tomorrow.